There is a noise that you know well. It isn't in your ears but behind your eyes. It's the constant, churning river of thoughts, worries, and plans that never seems to stop flowing. It pulls at you during the day, keeping you from being truly present. At night, it can feel like a flood, keeping you from the deep rest you desperately need. You feel caught in this current, a passenger in your own mind, wishing you could just find a moment of true, uncomplicated silence. This inner river carries everything. It carries the sharp-edged memories of yesterday's regrets and the heavy stones of tomorrow's anxieties. It sweeps along the driftwood of other people's expectations and the cold currents of your own self-criticism. You feel its immense power, its relentless forward motion, and it seems impossible to fight. You feel tossed and turned by emotions that appear from nowhere, leaving you exhausted and wondering if this internal struggle is just a permanent part of life. We are told that to find peace, we must have a quiet mind. But what does that even mean? How can you command a river to stop flowing? This expectation feels like a cruel joke. The harder you try to force the silence, the louder the roar becomes. The more you fight the current, the more violently it throws you against the rocks. You end up feeling like a failure, not just for having a busy mind, but for being unable to fix it. This struggle is the source of so much hidden suffering. So you look for peace outside of yourself. You believe that if you can just achieve the next thing, the promotion, the perfect relationship, the approval of others, the inner river will finally calm down. You chase after moments of distraction, scrolling through feeds, binging shows, anything to temporarily numb the noise. These things can offer fleeting relief, a momentary sandbar in the flood. This cycle is exhausting. The constant push and pull, the endless chase for a quiet that never lasts, leaves you feeling depleted. It can make you believe that peace is a luxury reserved for others, for those who have it all figured out, for people whose lives are somehow less complicated than yours. You might even start to believe that your own mind is your enemy, a wild and untamable force that is actively working against your happiness. You begin to ask a fundamental question, a question whispered in the quiet moments of desperation. Is peace truly the absence of this river? Is the only goal to make it all go away? Or is there another way to exist? A way that doesn't involve a constant, draining war against the very nature of your own consciousness? The question itself is a flicker of light in the darkness, a hint that the path you've been on might not be the only one that exists. It's a sign that you are ready for a different answer. You see others who seem to possess an unshakable calm. You wonder what their secret is. Do they not have a river of thoughts? Is their mind a placid, still lake? From the outside, their peace seems like a superpower, an unattainable state of being. You assume they were born this way, or that their lives are free from the storms that batter yours. This comparison only deepens your own sense of frustration, making true peace feel even more distant and mythical. The noise feels personal, like it's a unique flaw in your own design. You hear the inner critic dissecting your every move. You feel the surge of anxiety about a future that hasn't happened. You get lost in daydreams of a different life, only to crash back into reality. Each of these is a powerful current in your river, and you believe you are the only one drowning in a mind like this. But what if that feeling of isolation is the greatest illusion of all? What if everyone has a river? The truth is, the river is not a flaw. A mind that thinks, worries, plans, and dreams is not a broken mind. It is a human mind doing what minds do. The river flows for everyone. The CEO in the boardroom, the artist in the studio, the monk in the monastery, they all have a river. The noise is a shared human condition. The pain comes not from the presence of the river, but from our belief that we are supposed to be somewhere else, that we are failing because we cannot make it stop. So the question we must ask is not, how do I stop the river? That is a question born of struggle, and it will only lead to more struggle. The real question, the one that can actually change everything, is this: if I cannot stop the river, how do I learn to relate to it differently? This is the beginning of the true path. It's a shift from a battle against yourself to a journey of understanding. It is here, in this moment of profound reframing, that the path to peace truly begins. The most common trap we fall into is the trap of control. We believe that peace is a project to be managed. We think if we can just organize our thoughts, suppress the bad ones, and amplify the good ones, we will achieve a state of inner order. This is like trying to tame the river by force. You stand in the current, trying to build a dam out of pebbles and twigs. You frantically try to redirect its flow, believing that with enough effort, you can conquer it. Think of this as trying to sort the water itself. You try to catch every negative thought, every worry, every fear as it floats by. You grab onto these sharp, thorny pieces of debris, examining them, fighting with them, trying to throw them out of the river. But what happens? You just get cut. You become entangled. The very act of fighting the thought gives it more power and keeps you stuck in the turbulent water, completely at its mercy. Another part of this trap is suppression. This is the belief that if you ignore the river, it will go away. You clench your jaw, you hold your breath, you tell yourself, "Don't think about it, just stop." This is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes a tremendous amount of energy and constant pressure. But the moment your concentration wavers, the moment you get tired, the ball doesn't just surface. It erupts out of the water with even more force than before. We also fall for the trap of endless analysis. We sit in the middle of the raging current and try to understand why the river is so chaotic. We follow a single thought, a piece of driftwood, all the way back to its source. We analyze our childhood, we dissect a past conversation, we build elaborate stories about why we are the way we are. While self-reflection has its place, doing it from within the chaos is like a drowning person trying to study the fluid dynamics of the wave that is engulfing them. This flawed approach is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. We believe we are the river. We identify with its every twist and turn. When the river is angry, I am angry. When the river is sad, I am sad. When the river is chaotic, I am chaos. This fusion between our awareness and the contents of our mind is the very definition of being swept away. As long as you believe you are the current, you have no choice but to be carried by it, wherever it may lead. The promise of the outside world reinforces this trap. Gurus and brands sell you hacks to control your mind. They offer you a new planner, a new app, a new 5-step method to crush your anxiety. These are just more sophisticated tools for fighting the river. They might give you a temporary sense of power, a stronger dam, or a better net. But they all operate on the same flawed premise, that your inner world is a problem to be solved, an enemy to be defeated, a wilderness to be paved over. And so you get tired, incredibly tired. Fighting a river every single day is the most exhausting job in the world. You may even reach a point of surrender, but it's a surrender of defeat. You simply give up and let the current take you. This isn't peace, it's resignation. It's the dull ache of accepting a life of inner turmoil as inevitable. You float along, numb and passive, no longer fighting, but certainly not free. This is the quiet despair that many mistake for acceptance. Look at the result of all this effort. The river is still flowing. The noise is still there. But now you are also bruised from the fight, tired from the struggle, and discouraged by your repeated failures. All the energy you've spent trying to control, suppress, and analyze the river has not brought you 1 inch closer to peace. In fact, it has taken you further away because it has reinforced the false belief that your mind is a battlefield. This entire strategy is like trying to smooth a wrinkled piece of silk by ironing it with more wrinkles. The tool you are using, forceful, anxious, controlling thought, is the very thing creating the problem. You cannot use anxiety to fix anxiety. You cannot use a worried mind to untangle worry. You cannot use a chaotic inner state to create inner peace. You are trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The approach is fundamentally, fatally flawed. The failure of this approach is not your fault. It is the only way we are taught to deal with our problems. Identify, attack, and solve. It works well for fixing a car or a leaky faucet. But your mind is not a machine to be fixed. It is a natural process to be understood. The laws of mechanics do not apply to the currents of consciousness. We need a different kind of wisdom, a different kind of tool, one that does not involve fighting at all. So you are in the river, exhausted and lost. You have tried everything you know. You have fought, you have resisted, you have analyzed, you have suppressed, and none of it has worked. This moment, this recognition of complete and total failure is not an end. It is a precious, vital turning point. It is the moment you finally stop and look around, not for a new way to fight, but for a different possibility altogether. You are ready to see what you were too busy struggling to notice before. What if peace is not a state to be achieved, but a place to be found? And what if that place is not in some distant, future, silent mind, but is available right here, right now, closer than your own breath? What if the path to peace doesn't involve changing the river at all? This is a radical idea. It goes against every instinct we have, but it is the very pivot upon which your entire relationship with your mind can turn. The trap is the belief that you must fix the water while you are drowning in it. It's an impossible task. It consumes all your energy and focus, keeping your world small and defined by the struggle. Every moment is spent reacting to the next wave, the next sharp object, the next frightening current. But freedom does not lie in winning the fight. Freedom lies in realizing you don't have to be in the water at all. There is another place to stand. You have been looking for the off switch for your mind. You have been searching for the secret technique to dam the river of thoughts forever. This search is what has kept you in the water, fighting and flailing. The energy you have been using to wrestle with the current is the very energy you need to do something far simpler and far more profound. It is the energy you need to simply get out of the water. The solution has been there all along, waiting patiently. It is not a secret. It is not complicated. It does not require you to be a different person. It only requires you to shift your position, to move from the center of the chaos to the edge of it, to stop being the victim of the river and start being the observer of it. This is where the wisdom of the Buddha shines a light on a new path. Imagine on the bank of this raging river of your mind, a figure is sitting. It is the Buddha. He is not trying to stop the river. He is not throwing rocks into it or shouting at it. He is not disturbed by its chaos or its noise. He is simply sitting, still and serene. His peace is not dependent on the river being peaceful. His peace comes from his position, from the simple fact that he is on the bank, not in the water. You, struggling in the water, see him. For the first time, you see a possibility that is not about fighting. His calm is not a challenge or a judgment. It is an invitation. It demonstrates a truth so simple and so profound it can change everything. You are not the river. You are the one who is aware of the river. This separation is the key to your freedom. You have been mistaking the thoughts for the thinker, the waves for the ocean itself. This leads us to the central thesis, the heart of this entire journey. Peace is not found by silencing the river of your thoughts, but by learning to sit calmly on its bank. The goal is not to eliminate your thoughts, which is impossible, but to change your relationship to them. The goal is to move from being immersed in the flow to witnessing the flow. This is the great pivot from struggle to peace. The work is not to calm the river, but to find your footing on the shore. With this realization, you begin to act. You stop fighting the current. You stop trying to analyze the debris. You use all the energy you were wasting on the struggle for one single, focused purpose, to swim to the shore. It is not an easy journey. The current is still strong. Old habits of struggle will try to pull you back in. But for the first time, you have a destination. You are no longer flailing. You are moving with intention. The moment your feet touch the muddy bottom and you pull yourself onto the solid ground of the bank is a revelation. You are exhausted, dripping with the water of your old struggles, but you are out. You are on solid ground. The river is still there, just as loud and chaotic as before. But it is over there and you are over here. The separation is real. You can feel the stillness of the earth beneath you, a stability you haven't felt in years. You sit up, you turn and look at the river. From this new vantage point, it looks different. You can see the waves rising and falling, the thoughts and feelings floating by, but they are no longer overwhelming. You are no longer identified with them. You are the watcher on the shore. This is the beginning of mindfulness, of meditative awareness. It is nothing more and nothing less than choosing to sit on the bank. The Buddha's wisdom is not a command to be peaceful. It is a map that shows you where peace resides. It resides on the bank of observation. He taught that suffering arises from attachment, from grabbing onto the things in the river, whether they are good or bad. By sitting on the bank, you begin the practice of letting the river flow without grabbing onto anything. You let it all come, and you let it all go. At first, sitting on the bank is difficult. Every instinct will scream at you to jump back in. A particularly scary thought will float by, a thorny branch of worry, and your body will tense, ready to dive in and fight it. A beautiful memory will float by, a shining golden leaf, and you'll want to jump in and possess it. The habit of immersion is strong. The practice is simply to notice this urge and instead of acting on it, to remain on the bank. You have not failed if your mind is busy. You are not doing it wrong if the river is a raging torrent. The only practice is to notice that you have been swept away and to gently, kindly guide your awareness back to the shore. That's it. You might have to do it 100 times in a minute. Each return is a victory. Each return strengthens your ability to rest in awareness rather than being lost in thought. This bank is not a physical place. It is the part of your consciousness that is pure awareness. It is the silent background presence that is aware of the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that flow through you. It has always been there. When you say, "I am feeling angry," there is the anger, the river, and the I who is aware of it, the bank. The entire practice is learning to rest as the I, the awareness, instead of as the anger, the experience. This shift in perspective is the most powerful move you can make. It is the difference between being in a movie, believing you are the character in peril, and sitting in the theater, realizing you are the audience watching the screen. The drama on the screen can be intense, scary, or beautiful, but you know that you are not in danger. You are the watcher. This realization doesn't stop the movie, but it ends the terror. The path to peace, therefore, begins right here, not when your life is perfect, not when you've solved all your problems. It begins when you choose to shift from immersion to observation. It begins with the simple intention to sit on the bank of your own mind, even for a few seconds. This is the starting point. This is the here from the title. It is an internal location that is always accessible to you, no matter how stormy the river gets. Do not underestimate the power of this simple shift. It is the master key that unlocks a new way of being. For centuries, this has been the core teaching of countless contemplative traditions, expressed in 1,000 different ways. The Buddha did not invent the river, nor did he invent the bank. He simply pointed out that they were separate, and that our freedom lies in knowing the difference and choosing where we stand. So the invitation is not to become a meditating master overnight. The invitation is to begin, to find a moment in your day to purposefully take your seat on the bank, to close your eyes and watch the river of your mind without judgment, to notice the thoughts, feel the feelings, and let them pass by like clouds in the sky or leaves on a stream. This is the practice. It is simple, it is profound, and it is available to you now. The great journey does not require a great leap, but a small, simple step. The step from the water to the land, from being tossed by the current to watching it flow. This is the pivot. This is the moment of waking up. You are not your thoughts. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which your thoughts arise and pass away. Let's explore what happens when you truly begin to live from this place of peace. Now that you are on the bank, a new skill can be learned: observation without judgment. You simply watch what floats by in the river of your mind. A memory of an embarrassing moment appears. Before, you would have dived in, reliving the shame. Now you sit on the bank and label it. Memory. You watch it float by and disappear downstream. You don't condemn it or cling to it. You just notice it. This is a revolutionary act. Next, a powerful wave of anxiety about a future presentation rolls through the river. The water churns. Before, this wave would have swallowed you whole. Now from the bank you can say, there is the feeling of anxiety. You can feel its echo in your body, the tight chest, the quick breath. But you are not the wave. You are the stable shoreline that witnesses the wave crash and recede. You are the container for the feeling, not the feeling itself. As you sit on the bank, you start to notice the nature of the river more clearly. You see that it is always changing, always in motion. No single thought, no single feeling ever stays for long. This is the great truth of impermanence. The anger that felt so permanent yesterday has been replaced by the boredom of today, which will be replaced by the joy of tomorrow. Seeing this directly, you stop taking the contents of the river so seriously. How can you, when it all passes? A truly amazing thing begins to happen as you practice staying on the bank. The river itself begins to change. Because you are no longer fighting it, you are no longer adding your own struggle and panic to the current. Because you are not churning the waters with judgment and resistance, the mud begins to settle. The river doesn't stop, but it starts to flow more clearly and gently. Your peace is not only found on the bank, it is reflected back in the water. You learn to have compassion for your own river. You understand that the scary thoughts and difficult emotions are not your enemy. They are like frightened animals being carried by the current. From the safety of the bank, you can look upon them not with fear, but with a gentle kindness. "I see you are scared," you can say to your anxiety. This compassionate stance softens everything. It is the difference between trying to shoot the rapids and offering a hand to someone struggling. This practice of sitting on the bank begins to expand. You are not just on the bank during your morning meditation. You find you can access it while standing in line at the grocery store. The river of impatience and frustration flows, and you can choose to watch it from the bank. You can be on the bank while in a difficult conversation, watching the river of defensiveness and anger flow by without having to jump in. Peace becomes a portable place. From the bank, you gain wisdom. You start to see the patterns in your river. You notice that the same types of thoughts, the same emotional currents appear again and again. You see that your anger is often preceded by a feeling of being unheard. You see that your anxiety is often triggered by a fear of the unknown. From the bank, you are no longer a victim of these patterns. You are a scientist of your own mind, observing them with curious detachment. Your sense of self begins to change. Before, your identity was a fragile thing built from the debris in the river, your successes, your failures, your roles, your relationships. It was constantly under threat. Now you begin to identify with the bank itself, the silent, stable, ever-present awareness. Your sense of self becomes vast, spacious, and unshakable. Storms can rage in the river, but they cannot harm the shore. This doesn't mean you become passive or emotionless. That is a common misunderstanding. Sitting on the bank doesn't mean you never enter the water again. It means you learn to choose when and how to enter. You can choose to dive into a river of joy, swimming in it fully. You can choose to wade into a river of sorrow to help someone else. But now, you do it consciously, and you always know the way back to the shore. You are the master of your own crossing. The bank is a place of profound rest. The sheer amount of energy we expend fighting our own minds is staggering. When you stop fighting, that energy becomes available for other things, for creativity, for connection, for healing, for love. You realize that peace is not a dull, boring state. It is vibrant and full of life because you are no longer wasting all your vitality on an unnecessary internal war. You start to notice the space between thoughts. At first, the river seems like a solid, continuous flow of noise. But as you watch from the bank, you begin to see tiny gaps, a fraction of a second of pure, empty silence between one thought ending and the next one beginning. These gaps are like tiny windows into pure peace. At first, they are rare, but the more you rest on the bank, the more frequent and longer these moments of stillness become. The nature of the debris itself changes. As you stop fearing and judging your thoughts, their sharp edges soften. The thorny branches of worry might still float by, but they seem less threatening. The heavy stones of regret seem lighter. It is as if the river is responding to your newfound peace. The thoughts and feelings are still there, but they have lost their charge, their power to hook you and pull you in. They become just mental weather passing through. From the bank, you can finally see the beauty of the river. You can appreciate the creativity of your mind, its ability to dream and imagine. You can marvel at the power of your emotions, the deep reds of love and the cool blues of contemplation. When you are not drowning in it, you can see the whole ecosystem of your mind as a natural wonder, not a terrifying mess. You can even feel a sense of gratitude for this incredible flowing process of life within you. This practice cultivates an inner refuge. Life will always bring storms. People will disappoint you, plans will fail, pain will arise. These are external storms that create waves in your inner river, but now you have a place to go. You can retreat to the bank of your awareness, watch the storm rage in the river of your mind, and know that you, the watcher, are safe. This inner refuge is unshakable. It is the true source of resilience. The distinction between good and bad thoughts begins to dissolve. From the bank, you see that these are just labels you have attached to the debris. A bad thought is just a thought. A good feeling is just a feeling. They are all made of the same transient stuff. By letting go of these labels, you let go of the endless cycle of chasing pleasure and avoiding pain. You find a deeper peace that is not dependent on feeling good all the time. This clarity extends to your actions. When you are not being constantly jerked around by the currents of your reactive mind, you can act with wisdom and intention. You can pause before you speak. You can choose a response instead of having a knee-jerk reaction. You are no longer a puppet of your own thoughts and emotions. You are responding to life from the solid ground of awareness, not from the chaotic waters of reactivity. The feeling of loneliness dissolves. When you believed you were the chaotic river, you felt flawed and isolated. But as you rest on the bank of awareness, you begin to sense that this silent, watchful presence is universal. It is the same awareness that is in everyone. You are connected to others not by the shared chaos of your rivers, but by the shared stillness of your banks. This is the foundation of true compassion and connection. You realize that the bank was always here. It is not something you built or earned. It is your fundamental nature. It is the birthright of a conscious being. The entire spiritual journey is not about becoming something you are not. It is about unlearning all the habits that keep you in the river and simply remembering the truth of who you have been all along, the silent, peaceful witness to it all. This practice is an act of supreme kindness to yourself. For years, you may have berated yourself for having a busy mind or for feeling anxious. You treated your mind like a disobedient child. Sitting on the bank is an act of truce. It is a way of saying to yourself, it's okay, you don't have to be different, you don't have to be silent, I will just sit with you, I will be here. This acceptance is profoundly healing. The peace you find on the bank is not a fragile peace. It is not the peace of a perfectly curated environment or a life free of problems. It is a robust, resilient peace that can coexist with chaos. It is the deep stillness of the ocean depths, which remains undisturbed no matter how violent the storm on the surface. This is the only kind of peace that can truly be relied upon in this unpredictable world. You are no longer afraid of your own mind. This is a freedom that is hard to describe. To no longer be afraid of what thoughts might arise, what feelings might surface. To know that whatever comes up, you have a safe place from which to witness it. This fearlessness is the quiet confidence that you see in those who seem truly at peace. They are not free of a wild mind, they are simply no longer afraid of it. From this place of stability, your priorities naturally shift. The frantic chase for external validation, for more possessions, for more distraction, begins to seem less important. It's like you've been trying to quench a thirst with salt water. Now, having tasted the fresh, clear water of inner peace, you lose your taste for the other. Your life begins to reorganize itself around what truly nourishes you: presence, connection, and wisdom. The past and future are just two currents in the river. From the bank, you can see the current of the past, carrying memories and regrets, and you can see the current of the future, carrying hopes and fears. But you are sitting in the only place that is real, the present moment. The bank is the eternal now. By learning to stay on it, you learn to truly live in the only time you ever have. This doesn't mean you stop planning for the future or learning from the past. It means you do so from a place of stability. You can look at the river of the past, pick out a lesson, a smooth stone of wisdom, and bring it back to the bank. You can look at the river of the future and build a sturdy boat, a clear plan to navigate it. But you do it from the solid ground of the present, not while being swept away. As you become more familiar with the bank, you realize it is a place of immense creativity. When the mind is not clogged with reactive noise and constant struggle, new ideas have space to arise. Insights appear as if from nowhere. Solutions to problems become clear. By creating inner stillness, you are not shutting the mind down. You are creating the fertile silence from which the most beautiful things can grow. The world itself appears different. When your inner world is chaos, the outer world reflects that chaos. But when you find stillness within, you begin to see the stillness that is also present in the world. You notice the quiet dignity of a tree. You hear the silence between the notes of a song. You see the peace in a sleeping child's face. Your inner state becomes the lens through which you see everything. The voice of your inner critic loses its power. That voice is just one of the more unpleasant currents in the river. From the bank, you can hear it, you can see it float by, a little boat full of insults and doubts. You can even wave at it with a little smile as it passes. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to argue with it. It's just more noise. Its power came from your belief that it was you who was speaking. You start to trust yourself in a deeper way. Not trust in your ability to control everything, but trust in your ability to be with everything. You trust that you can handle whatever the river brings because you know you don't have to drown in it. This is true self-confidence. It's not a loud, arrogant confidence, but a quiet, steady trust in the resilience of your own awareness. The need for constant distraction lessens. You no longer feel the desperate urge to escape your own mind. In fact, moments of quiet become a welcome refuge, a chance to return to the bank and simply be. You can enjoy a movie or a conversation more fully because you are not using it as an escape. You are simply present with it. The frantic search for something to do, something to consume, begins to fade away. The joy you experience becomes more profound. It's not the frantic, fleeting high of getting what you want. It's the deep, abiding joy of being. It's the simple happiness of watching the sunlight on the water, of feeling the solid earth beneath you. This joy is not dependent on circumstances. It arises from the peace of the bank itself. It is a quiet, steady hum of well-being that underlies all experience. You learn that you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. This is another way to express the same wisdom. You don't get rid of the energy of the mind. You learn to work with it skillfully. From the stability of the bank, you can learn to ride the waves of emotion and thought with balance and grace, using their energy instead of being destroyed by it. This is the art of living a wise and fully engaged life. Patience becomes a natural quality of your being. When you sit on the bank, you are practicing patience with your own mind. This practice naturally spills over into your life. You become more patient with others, with situations, with the unfolding of life itself. You understand that, like the river, all things have their own pace and flow. You don't need to force or rush them. You can simply allow them to be. The fear of death itself can begin to soften. From the bank, you identify with the timeless, spacious awareness, not with the transient collection of thoughts, feelings, and sensations that make up your personality. You see that forms come and go like waves on the river, but the water itself, the consciousness, remains. This perspective can bring a profound sense of peace in the face of life's ultimate impermanence. This entire process is one of subtraction, not addition. You are not adding a new belief or a complex skill. You are letting go of the struggle, letting go of the identification with your thoughts, letting go of the belief that you are broken and need to be fixed. Peace is what remains when you stop adding the noise of resistance to the already existing noise of the mind. And so you sit, on the bank of your own magnificent, wild, and beautiful mind. You watch the river of life flow through you. You are no longer its victim, but its privileged witness. You have come home to the stillness that was always waiting for you right here. This is not an end state, but a continuous, moment-by-moment practice of returning to the bank, returning to peace. Let us bring this all together. For your entire life, you may have believed you were a person lost in a chaotic river of thoughts. You believed the only way to find peace was to fight the current, to stop the flow, an exhausting and impossible task. You identified with every wave of emotion, every sharp piece of mental debris. You were at war with your own mind, and it was a war you could never win. This is the dream of struggle. Then a new possibility was revealed. The wisdom of the Buddha, a timeless insight, offered not a new way to fight, but a new place to stand. It pointed to the shore that was always there. It illuminated the simple, revolutionary truth. You are not the river, you are the witness of the river. This single shift in identity changes everything. It is the move from being the content of your mind to being the context in which it all happens. And so the central truth becomes clear, etched into your very being. Peace is not found by silencing the river of your thoughts, but by learning to sit calmly on its bank. It is not about achieving a future state of perfection, but about accessing the present state of awareness. The peace was never in making the river disappear. The peace was the bank. It was there all along, waiting for you to come home. This is the aha moment, the great release. It's the realization that your freedom is not contingent on your thoughts changing. Your peace is not held hostage by your feelings. You can be peaceful right now, even with a busy, anxious, or sad mind, simply by remembering to take your seat on the shore of awareness. This untangles the knot of suffering at its very root. It is the end of the war. The river is no longer an enemy. It is simply a part of the landscape of your being. You can appreciate its beauty and its power without being its slave. You can have a rich, complex inner life, full of thoughts and emotions, without the suffering that comes from resisting it. You have found the secret harmony between stillness and flow, between being and doing, between the silence of the bank and the music of the river. All the energy you once used for internal battle is now liberated. This is the great dividend of peace. It is an energy that can be poured into your life, your work, your relationships. You become more present, more compassionate, more creative, not by trying to be those things, but as a natural consequence of no longer being at war with yourself. You are whole. You were always whole. You just couldn't see it from inside the river. Think of it. The path to peace does not begin when your problems end. It begins when your resistance ends. It is a path of surrender, but not of defeat. It is a surrender to the reality of your mind as it is, which paradoxically gives you the power to relate to it with wisdom and freedom. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and in doing so, you gain the only control that ever mattered, the choice of where you place your awareness. This is not just a nice idea. This is a direct experience. It is the felt sense of solid ground beneath you. It is the spaciousness that opens up when you are not consumed by thought. It is the quiet joy of simply being here now, a witness to the incredible mystery of your own consciousness. This is the peace that surpasses all understanding, because it is not born of understanding, but of being. The whole journey can be distilled into one simple movement, from in it to watching it, from being the thought to being the awareness of the thought. That's the practice. In the morning, in the evening, in a moment of stress, in a moment of joy. The invitation is always there to step out of the current and take your seat on the shore. Every single time you do, you are walking the path to peace. So let this understanding settle deep within you. Peace is not a distant destination. It is a nearby location. It is the bank of your own mind. The path doesn't begin out there, somewhere in the future. The path to peace begins right here. It begins now, with your very next breath, with the very next thought you choose to watch instead of become. Now we bring this journey home from the world of metaphor to the world of your own direct experience. The river is your mind. The bank is your awareness. This is not a story about someone else. This is the story of you. The potential for this peace is not in a book or on a screen. It is woven into the fabric of your own consciousness, waiting to be discovered. You don't need to sit in a special posture or go to a special place. You can find the bank right now. As you listen to these words, can you become aware of the silence in the room behind the sound of my voice? That is the bank. Can you feel the sensation of your body sitting or standing? The simple, solid feeling of presence. That is the bank. It is that simple. It is that close. When a difficult emotion arises later today, frustration, boredom, sadness, see if you can remember this metaphor. Instead of being consumed by it, can you imagine yourself stepping out of the river and sitting on the bank? Can you just watch the feeling for a moment? Watch it as a physical sensation in your body. Watch it as a wave of energy. You don't have to fix it or solve it. Just watch. This is not about adding another task to your to-do list. It is an invitation to do less, to stop the constant, exhausting work of managing your inner state. What would it feel like to let go of that job just for today? To allow your thoughts and feelings to be exactly as they are, without needing to control or change them, to give yourself permission to simply rest on the shore. So I will not leave you with a list of instructions. I will leave you with a single transformative question to carry with you, a question to ask yourself in any moment, whether it is chaotic or calm. The question is this: am I in the river or am I on the bank? Simply asking the question is often enough to transport you to the shore. It is the key to remembering who you truly are. This question is your compass. When you feel lost, overwhelmed, and swept away, this question can guide you back to the solid ground of your own awareness. It is a gentle reminder, a compassionate friend, a flicker of light in the darkness. There is no right or wrong answer. There is only the noticing, and in the noticing there is freedom. The next time you find yourself caught in a loop of worry, ask the question. The next time you are hurt by someone's words, ask the question. The next time you are striving and struggling, ask the question: am I in the river or am I on the bank? Let the question itself be your practice. Let it be the gentle current that carries you back to the shores of peace. You have everything you need to begin. You don't need anything more than what you already possess: a mind that thinks and the awareness that knows it is thinking. That is the river and that is the bank. You are the whole landscape. The path isn't about getting somewhere else. It's about recognizing where you already are. Embrace this journey with gentleness and curiosity. There will be days when you spend all your time in the river, and that is okay. The bank is always waiting. It never judges. It is infinitely patient. Your only task is to remember it and to return whenever you can. Each return is a moment of grace. So go now into the landscape of your life, carrying this new map. Know that beneath all the noise, all the struggle, all the chaos, there is a place of profound stillness within you, a solid shore, a quiet refuge. The path to peace begins here, and you are already on it. Remember, the river is not your enemy. It is the flow of life itself. Your power lies not in stopping it, but in finding your stillness beside it. This is not just a path to peace. It is a path to a more wise, compassionate, and fully lived life. The journey is inward and the time is now. Let this feeling of quiet potential stay with you. The bank is only ever a single conscious breath away. It is your anchor in any storm, your foundation in a changing world. Carry this peace with you, knowing it is your true nature. You are the stillness that holds the storm. You are the silence that holds the noise. You are the shore that holds the river. Explore this space, and you will find everything you seek.